Hey, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to start a new chapter. We only actually have two chapters left in the class. Chapter 6, which is about adolescence in our society. Then chapter 7 is about sort of like the aging process, adulthood, getting older, and problems faced there. Um, this is a fairly serious chapter. If you skim through the notes, you'll notice that there's some pretty heavy topics in here, and I have some interesting, and I've always felt fairly important activities that I try to do to kind of cover this topic. Um, Today isn't quite so serious and heavy. Today I'm just going to go over this section 6.1 portion, and there's really not a whole lot to go over with you today. Um, First off, the difference between puberty and adolescence, and I'm not going to sit here and get into a big long discussion. Adolescence is not a biological phase. Adolescence is there's no sort of biological point in time where somebody is just big enough that all of a sudden, boom, they're an adult. Adolescence is actually a sort of a construct. It's a fairly new life stage that was created in Western society, actually, kind of specifically after the Civil War in the United States. Today in America, most sociologists feel that adolescence runs roughly from about ages 12 to 19. For some, it might be a little younger, some it goes a little longer. Um, but really, this is just a period of time that you hit certain rites of passage into adulthood. Now, if you have a few extra minutes, these two videos here are fascinating. Brooke, I know, took anthropology, and she would have watched these there. These are two non-Western cultures that don't have adolescence like we're used to, where they have like pretty serious rites of passage that as soon as somebody is ready to become an adult, they do go through these rites of passage, and then all of a sudden they're an adult. They could be 12 years old, they could be 18 years old, they could be 30 years old, but until they do these rites of passage, they're not an adult. So, kind of think about the types of rites of passage that we use in our own society, especially you seniors that are getting ready to go off into the real world. There's three reasons the textbook gets into why we have adolescence today. First off, this is a period of time for you guys to get educated, to just learn, to become educated, go to high school, go to college, get whatever training you need to become productive citizens in our society. Um, some scholars and experts do believe that adolescence does not end until you leave school. So, like, if you're going off to college, your adolescence might actually be extended and sort of put off, or adulthood would be put off. Secondly, this is a period of time to exclude the youth from the labor force. This is more of a reaction to a period of time where businesses were known to take advantage of children for their source of cheap labor. So they would oftentimes just use and abuse kids, and uh, this was a reaction to try to keep kids out of the labor force as much as possible. And then lastly, this is also a reason to create a specific juvenile justice system. In the United States, we have a system that is designed specifically for kids as youthful offenders. The idea is to try to like help them learn our ways, learn social norms, and not lose them to the system forever. I mean, think what would happen if you stuck a 12-year-old in prison with 20, 30, 40, 60-year-old men. The danger that they would be in. You throw them into a prison with them, and you're going to very well lose that child for the remainder of their life. Even if they get out of prison, they're never going to be the same. So this is also having adolescence is a reason to create a juvenile justice system. My notes seem to have froze. There we go. The textbook also gets into various characteristics of adolescence. The first two, I think, are are fairly easy to explain. First off, this is a time period of biological growth and development. This is not a health class. I'm not going to get into the hormone production, the sexual characteristics, but quite frankly, you can't deny the fact that in adolescence, your body is maturing. You're getting bigger, and things happen, and that's all I'm going to get into. Secondly, this is a time period of undefined status. Who are you? What are you? Are you a child? Are you an adult? And really, this is a period of time where there are inconsistent expectations. Um, some people will treat you like a child. Some people will treat you like an adult. Um, this can create like serious conflict, where if the teacher down the hallway treats you like a child and then you go into another teacher's classroom and they treat you like young adults, that can cause like serious misbehavior in certain circumstances. So this undefined status is a struggle. Are you a child or are you an adult? Especially those of you who are seniors. I mean, you got one foot in the adult world and one foot in a youthful world. So you're in a kind of a tough spot there. Um, and then the last three characteristics of what is adolescence. This is an increased period of time where you're supposed to be looking to make decisions. Again, especially seniors. What are you going to do with your life? What school are you going to go to? What job are you going to get? Where are you going to live? What are you going to become? And you have people that are like hounding you to start making choices. Those of you who are juniors are starting to see this. And those of you that are 10th graders, Harry, you're going to see this starting next year where people are going to start saying, make choices today. I'm not going to say that you have to, but just that's the world we live in. Like at this phase of life, people are pushing you to start making those choices. The fourth characteristic is that search for self. In the last chapter, the term anticipatory socialization was mentioned and brought up. This is the idea of sort of taking on roles and jobs and obligations and um, preparing for the future. Some of you I know have taken part in job shadowing programs, different education programs, especially at the VOTEC. VOTEC is a great example of anticipatory socialization. You have students enter certain programs that are specifically designed to push them into certain career choices. Those of you who choose to get after school jobs, you might be using that to prepare yourself for the world after school. So um, that's an extremely important period of time there. And then lastly, you have this entire period. There's like this all of adolescence is just this period of increased social pressure. And this is where if we were in school and we were having like a real discussion, I would probably spend most of the period just on this question. What are the sources of this pressure? If you skip ahead through a lot of the rest of this chapter, 6.3 looks at the challenges that adolescents face. There's three real challenges: sexual behavior, drug use, and suicide. Not to say that those are the only sources of pressure. Your sources of pressure can come from anywhere. They could be your friends, they could be your family, they could be your teachers, the kid down the street, it could be the pretty girl, the good looking guy down the street, it could be a TV show, president of the United States, it could be anything. There are a lot of forms of pressure, and some of this pressure is good pressure, and some of it is bad. I know a lot of you guys have heard of the phrase or heard the term peer pressure. Peer pressure is not always bad. I know we typically think of like peer pressure being like your friends are having a kegger out in the woods and you don't really want to go, but you don't want to look like you're not cool. You're afraid of getting in trouble, but you're afraid of getting made fun of. Um, you've got pressure coming from both sides at that point. Um, the mature thing would be make a decision about whether or not to go to this kegger in the woods based off of whether or not you want to go. But this is not a perfect world. You're going to be sitting there and thinking about what do authorities want, what do the police want, what do your parents want, what do your teachers want from you, and then you got pressure from the other side. What do your friends want? What do the cool kids want? What does your boyfriend or girlfriend want? The person you wish was your boyfriend or girlfriend, what do they want? Now all of this just creates this massive amount of pressure that just could like blow at any moment. So think about that question. In your short little quiz that I'm gonna have you take, there's 4 questions. This is a pretty important question as far as I'm concerned. This is sort of an unlimited source of pressure that you can have pressure coming from all sorts of places. So you guys have a good rest of your day. See you later. Bye.